Hello everyone, my name is Ashleigh Hudson. Welcome to my Genius Hour project for CBU 5105. I chose to explore, do online group work peer assessment forms provide more honest peer evaluation? Much of the research has confirmed what most teachers already know. Providing students with meaningful feedback can greatly enhance learning and improve student achievement. Feedback provides students with a chance to reflect on their work, teaches them valuable skills for future projects, and asks them to engage in metacognition. Feedback can be formative or summative based on when it occurs during the learning process. Group work feedback practices are especially important for today's young learners to participate in, as they provide opportunities for students to reflect on valuable cooperative skill development. In my grade 4 classroom, I looked at my situation for project-based learning and collaborative tasks, and I often employ a lot of cooperative long-term projects. What I've noticed that in the group dynamic there are strengths and weaknesses. Stronger students bared much of the work, while other students took on a more passive role. So I decided to group my students based on past performances in highly motivated, moderately motivated, and less motivated. And based on these rankings, I made groups of 4 with one group of 3, and I tried to have a mix of these different motivation levels. Traditionally, I've done paper and pencil peer assessments, and what I'm looking to explore is, would the online assessment provide me with more accurate view of the contributions of the group members. It also takes me a lot of time to go through these, so I'm hoping to alleviate some of the time that it takes me to go through and just streamline the process a little bit. And what I was noticing was that a lot of students might feel social pressure to rate their friends highly or be bullied into giving someone a different mark than they deserved just because they didn't want to upset anyone in their class. So I'm going for a more anonymous type of feedback and hoping that will give me more honesty. The project itself was that I actually had them complete a project on science, and so it was a project-based learning collaborative project. I used Google Forms to send them at the end of the process to evaluate their group members. They actually select the group member from a drop-down menu and rate them on a Likert scale from 1 to 5 based on desired group work behaviors. The statements were adapted from the Sue Beer's rating scale from her book, Teaching 21st Century Skills. The one downside I will say of the Google Forms is that there's no rubric capability, so students have to kind of guess what the values are in the ordinal scale. So I'm hoping that this is something that Google will improve in the future. And I analyzed the responses using Google Sheets. The reason why I did this is because there seems to be a lack of research in honesty and peer feedback situations, and I really couldn't find anything when I was looking through and trying to look for something to justify. I also, again, wanted to explore the dynamic of the social pressure and does that have an influence on what students would give each other. While I did do this in a face-to-face environment, I think the online peer group work form could be adapted for different contexts, such as blended or online environments. Online environments are a little different because my students are all together in the same class all day, and they have been for many years. So that is kind of the social pressure and the peer dynamic that I wanted to explore. Online environments would be very different because students would not know each other, so perhaps there would be more honesty in those kind of learning environments, and that's something interesting that I might explore in the future. What I did notice about doing this was that I could apply this form throughout the year a bunch of different times, so it's something that it has a lot of reusability, and I can use it for many different subject areas. It could also be used for a bunch of different grade levels and could be used for high school, primary. It just might need to be adapted. But what I did notice was how much weight do we actually give peer assessments. I know in high school and junior high sometimes that is part of the final mark of the project. Where I'm an elementary teacher and I teach grade 4, I didn't think that this was actually really appropriate. It was more about the overarching learning about cooperative skills and having students adjust their own skills based on the feedback from other people. What I didn't like about doing this type of evaluation is that it is a one-size-fits-all rubric, and while I think that's important to have standards, it doesn't really count for individual differences within my students. So, I mean, we all don't learn in the same way, and a lot of the students that do have academic difficulties, including, reading and language and written output, were not rated particularly high by their peers, and students that are always very academically strong were actually rated higher. And I don't know if that's actually because they were actually contributing the most to the projects, or it was a perceived level of engagement by their peers just because they have been strong in the past. So students that are weak academically might actually be very engaged in the project and be doing a very good share of the work for that is appropriate to them, but it's not always coming across to their peers. I also think it would be interesting to compare the traditional paper and pencil type assessments to see if there's actually a relationship between providing anonymous feedback and honesty. I'm going to go ahead and put the forms, if you would like to see them, on my website, mhudsoneducationblog.weebly.com, and feel free to save them and adapt them and use them for yourself. I just want to take you guys quickly through the Google Forms process. So I actually created it using Google Forms, and all the students in my class all have a Google Apps for Education account, and so do I, so it was very easy to send this to them because I could just post on our classroom stream and it was very easy for them to retrieve. I had them pick their group member's name from a drop-down menu. And Google Forms is great because you can just click to add a different question. You can change, you can add pictures. You can separate it into different sections. I had it just all into one section. And as you can see, they can rate each other on a 5-point Likert scale based on these certain behaviors. One thing I did do that I really enjoyed and gave me a little bit more insight was that I actually gave a long answer text question. And that gave me some more qualitative data to interpret based on some of the dynamics that were happening in the groups. I can look at individual responses, but I actually can just click on this little button here for Sheets, and it actually gives me all the students based on how their peers rated them. I did collect their email address, and this actually proved to be very valuable because I actually had a student who picked himself from the drop-down menu and rated himself very highly 2 times. And when I'm calculating the averages, that would actually throw my averages off. So it was actually good for me to see it. But when I do send it to the students, I don't include the email addresses of their respondents. And I just use Google formulas to calculate averages. So I just inserted a row above, and I'll just show you with this one right here. So I actually alphabetized and put them in order for the group member name so that I have all the respondents together. And I just hit insert row above. And then I'm going to go ahead and use the Google formulas. So I'm going to hit equals, and I'm going to type in average. And I'll select that one. And I just highlight the boxes for Brent to get his average. And I just close the parentheses. And it's going to give me a decimal number, which I don't want. So I just click up here on the number format, and I'm going to hit this 0, and it'll give me a round number. You can use decimal numbers, but I just like the nice round numbers for my elementary grades. And if I want to copy this formula, I'm just going to hit Control-C, and I'm going to just drag this across for all of Brent. And as you can see, oops, it's giving me an average up here at the top for all of the areas that his group members rated him on. And you can go ahead and put that into a different spreadsheet and create tables and graphs, and that's really important to show the students because I think it gives them a good visual. I don't often share the comments with them, or I might generalize them or turn them into my own writing, just because I don't want them to perceive what another group member said. Alright, so again, all my stuff will be on my website, so thank you very much for listening, and have a great day.